Welcome back to Brainwashed to be Broke, the show where we expose all the lies, all the beliefs, everything what we've been taught since our young age, and what is truly possible. Today, I'm here with Josh Kosnick. He's a founder of Kairos Coaching and Consulting, a certified EOS Implementer,
You got it.
and best-selling author of the Kairos Code. So I'm super pumped to have him here. This conversation is basically, he is. I don't think that this conversation is going to be a lot of the like surface level type of conversation because like he of course he's got lots of experience in business and like you mentioned you basically you are running fourth business right now, or
Yeah,
you sold three and and now you are in fourth or something
that's
like that, if
correct.
I remember correctly. So I believe that today we're gonna be digging really like deeper into like even faith, family leadership, and this type of like topics because like like from the conversation that we had prior this type of before we started, it was really interesting like the way that we like kind of find similar values in certain areas. So I'm just really curious about like this whole conversation and super pumped for it. So but before we jump in and start talking about like specific details and such specific topics, I would love to like for those who don't know you, like who are you, Josh? Like what is the thing like that people know you for? Like what is the claim to fame, such a thing for you?
Well, I don't know if there's a claim to fame. What I think now it's becoming that bestseller author thing, which is hilarious because I never set out to be an author. I think I put like if my English teachers were still alive, they'd be shocked that even wrote a book, let alone became a best-selling author. But before that, we go through these phases of our lives. Like I was a football player, like an American football player, because I know you have audience worldwide. But it's interesting. Like I went to college to play football, not really to go to college. I just wanted to
Mhm.
continue playing football, and I was able to do that. And as soon as I got done, which I played 2 years of college football, and I chose to walk away. I very quickly chose to walk away from higher education as well, and not because it was bad, but part of it was I was undiagnosed ADD. I'm in my mid 40s, so that wasn't as big of a thing back then. They just didn't know what to do with us. I kept getting the comments, Josh, you're so bright. Like, why don't you just put in a little more effort? I'm like, because this shit bores me. Like, and so I drop out of college. I start working right away. I was a sales manager with Best Buy, major retailer back then. That was before Walmart started selling electronics and Amazon was even around. So it was a big deal back then. But I got told no for a raise after I was running a top three store in the country. And that really didn't sit well with me because my dad started very lower class and worked his way up to upper class. And so I saw that whole progression, and he taught us that, you do more, you work harder, you should get more. And that wasn't the case in that corporate world. So I set out on my entrepreneurial journey when I was 24 years old and never looked back. It was it was exactly what I needed. It was exactly who I was. I joke around and tell people I'm unemployable because I need to be running the show. And not to say that I don't have great leaders, and I actually, when I hire people, I don't want to be the smartest in the room, but I need to run my own business.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. And like I love the the way that you express it because basically there is, if you should become the best version of yourself, you should like every room that you should want it to enter is literally you should be the dumbest person in there. Like that's what I even do, and I'm trying to be like always. It feels uncomfortable. Like don't get me wrong, like literally because like you coming into the room and there are people who are way successful that you are in like in business and certainly in their life, right? And like it's but that's the right way I believe to do it because then there is so much potential for like like it's literally the same thing like when you are going for example to gym and now like basically you are becoming a you setting up basically a different layer of your like the ceiling basically, right? You start exercising and basically because of how well you exercise the basically the body follows after it, right? So when you're coming to the room where are those people and exercising, for example, in a business, then you're becoming one of them and getting on the line where they are, right? So I love that. And So before we gonna go into like business side of things and such, because I know that most of the people probably that you've been interviewed by or like have you been in different shows, on different shows, they usually like people are going to the story and start like let's dig deeper into this type of topics because that's the natural way of like opening up the conversation. But I would love to start a little bit different in here, because I believe that well, I'm super interested actually because like you mentioned you've been already like you had 3 companies, 4 now, and like with this type of success and everything what you've done so far, like what is the true driving source for you? I'm just so curious. Like what is the true driving
Yeah.
source when it comes to like is it Jesus? Is it freedom? Is it like, what is it for you?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things now. And I think a lot of people get this wrong where they feel like they have to have a singular purpose in life. And I
Mm,
think that having a singular purpose at first, like you're always going to need that purpose and that driving why, but it may change through seasons of your life. So being in my 40s now, like it's changed. Like when I was 24 and going on that entrepreneurial journey for the first time, man, I just wanted to make a lot of money
mm,
and have success that was mine because I knew I was making that previous corporation a lot of money and I wasn't being, or I felt I wasn't being appropriately compensated. And so now that I was running something on my own, I was like, okay, everything I produce is for me, and then I dictate what I get paid versus someone else dictating that for me. So I think at first, like a lot of times we get told, being money driven is wrong. Well, that's a very political way of how they want to go about things nowadays. That's why they don't teach us personal finance in school. They want us dumb and broke, and so that's how they can control us. And so for me, and I didn't realize that in my 20s, but I've now realized that in my 40s for certain. So now the shift is more about impact and legacy. And so you brought up Jesus, who is my Lord and Savior. Uh, I want to wring every drop of juice out of this thing called life so that when I show up to the pearly gates, like not only does he say the words, well done, my good and faithful servant, but like also, man, I set a high bar for you and you pushed it. Like you pushed it. And that's my driving force is like we only get one shot at this thing. And it just baffles me, boggles my mind when I just see people floating through life and without purpose, without knowing or even thinking about that today could be their last day. And I want to get everything out of it. So I know that God put certain and unique gifts in each and every one of us. And for me, it's continuing to see how deep those gifts are and then give them back to the world in the service of others.
Where did that mindset came from? Being aware of like if this life is literally like we are here based like, you know, in the planet because of there is a purpose behind it. Like where did that came from
Yeah.
for
So that was an evolution. My first entrepreneurial journey, I told you before the show, like I started my own financial advisory practice. And in that, we were, I was doing full-fledged financial planning. So helping people with their investments, but also helping people protect against the worst things in life, death, disability, stuff of
Mm,
that nature. And so I've delivered death claims from 2 years old to 90 years old. And each one of those deaths of one of my clients had a profound impact on me because we don't know when our last day is going to be.
mm,
Delivering a death claim to a widow of a 32-year-old, like you don't plan for that. Like you don't like no one, I should say, we do plan for that. That's part of what I did. But no one thinks that a 32-year-old is going to check out.
mm,
No one thinks they're going to lose a 2-year-old daughter. And those things I watched happen, right? We all think that, on each day is like, you know, the average life expectancy for a male in the US is 79 and for a woman that's 81. So I got about that many years. But you really don't know. You really don't. And so each morning that we wake up is a blessing. Now, how am I going to maximize that day? Right. So part of it came from that previous experience of running the financial advisory firm um, and also just life experience of losing loved ones in various different ways. Some of my college fraternity brothers or football teammates that have taken their own life or died too soon, from my father-in-law. uh, a lot of different close people to me being at their funerals. And that seems to be like the only time we like are really cognizant that life is short.
Mm,
And when we lose someone that we love, like we show up and we have this recognition that, man, they died too soon. Well, what is too soon? Like, no, none of us are promised tomorrow. No one,
mhm,
like, there's no one that says, you got this ticket and you got to maximize your life because you're going to die at 41
mm,
or you're going to die at 82. Like, we don't know that. So for me, it's like any day could be my last. And so I'm going to maximize each day. And now that I'm a, husband and father, I have 4 kids. Like, how many lessons can I pass down? Like, what can I give them as far as a leg up from the knowledge and wisdom that I've accumulated so that they can live their best life as well?
love it. Yeah, this is. I don't have kids right yet, but like how how old they are actually? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so they're all about to change. So we just had a birthday this last week, another birthday next week. So I'll just say 15, 13, 11, and 9.
Right. So this is the age. I just like comparing to my like the time where I was like because that's not too far ago. And it's like when you think about it, like have you ever planned the way that you're going to raise them when it comes to like you seeing the whole world, how is it set it up and such?
Yeah, we talk about it frequently. Like we have deep conversations in our house. Our kids, so we one of the things that we're raising them with is a deep level of curiosity.
Mm,
And so I am trying to train them to be scientists of themselves and of the world
mm,
and others, right? So that was one thing I missed, but I've always been a very curious person. Like that wasn't taught to me. I think that was innately gifted to me. It's why I host a podcast, similar to you. Like I want to know from different experts, like just life experiences of others, so that I can glean some of that knowledge. And some of the stuff they say I agree with, some of it I don't, but like it just gives you a different lens. So it's kind of funny. Sometimes my kids will hop in my truck and they're like, "Dad, are you listening to yourself?" Because I may have one of my podcasts on. And I said, "Yes, but let me explain why. Two things, two reasons I do it is one, when I'm interviewing the guest, I don't necessarily, I'm not soaking it all in because I'm trying to drive the conversation. What questions am I going to ask next? And secondly, I listen to it to see what I can do better. And so those are things like having the podcast, writing the book, like thinking about these things at a more broad scale that are a legacy. Because I also got told this, I don't remember where or how, but we're 2 generations away from being forgotten. Well,
mm,
I think that's actually changed, and that's always been history's case, right? So most people don't know their great grandparents' names,
mm. Yeah,
but they know their grandparents' names. So that's two
yeah.
generations. But I think that's changing. And here's why I think it's changing. We have these podcasts, we have social media, we have, if you choose to write a book or a memoir or whatever it may be,
Mm, mm-hmm,
like you can pass those down, that wisdom down. And in the digital age, you're creating a digital, footprint
mm-hmm.
that many generations below could go, oh, this is who Adam was. This
I
is who
love it.
Josh was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that people sharing their story for whatever medium it may be, being curious, continuing to get out in the world, that can last more generations. I got off on a tangent, but to answer your question, the things that we're making are really striving for. Like I won't force them to do anything. Actually, one thing, I made them learn how to swim because that can save your life. But any other sport or any other thing
That's awesome.
that they want to do, like we're going to support them. But I have one rule is like if you sign up for this, you can't quit during the season. Like you can quit after the season if you really don't like it, but like you're going to see it through. And so those little instances, and telling your kids why and asking them to have questions of themselves, like if they made a bad decision, like, hey, what led you to make that decision? What led you to hitting your sister? What, whatever it may be, those questions, getting them to think, because oftentimes as kids we just have emotional reactions. We
Mhm.
don't have the maturity yet to go, okay, if I hit this person, if I punch them in the mouth, like they may punch me back. Like you don't
Yeah.
necessarily think about that as a kid. So it's like getting them to think a little bit faster and ask questions so that they can mature and evolve a little bit faster as well.
Curious, is there something that you would change the way that you taught them?
Well, so in any parenting scenario, I truly believe most parents are doing the best that they know how. I don't think that anyone sets out to be a bad parent. And certainly there's things that Jenna and I have screwed up on. And one of the most beautiful things, let's say, because I have a short fuse, especially if I've had a stressed out day or whatever it may be, um, and I lash out at the kids, and it was probably over the top. Well, then I have a beautiful opportunity to circle back to them and be like, "Hey, Dad screwed up." And some of those conversations are the most beautiful conversations, and you're leading by example in that scenario, because what people need to understand is actions are caught, not taught. So
Mhm,
you can say something till you're blue in the face, but if you're doing the opposite, they're going to follow what you do more than what you say,
mhm,
right? So we have to lead by example in our households, and I do a very good job of that. There's not a specific instance or anything that's coming to mind that said I would lead differently, but what I will say is I lead differently than my dad led.
mhm,
And that was just like learning different things because I'm very much like him. But my dad didn't say I love you more like I can count on one hand, by the time I was 18. Now he's done a much better job as he's grown older, but never heard I was proud of you, never heard I love you really as a youth. And especially for us boys, like the person we crave it the most from is our father figure. It's usually our first hero, and that stuck with me, and it affected me, into life. And I make sure as a father that they hear it from me every day, at least once, right? And that's just so. One thing I want to get across in this to you or anyone else is you are not your father, you are not your mother. You get to choose how you lead, how you parent. Now, you also get the choice to break any generational curses, any trauma, any money situation, like having a healthy relationship with money instead of having an unhealthy, which the majority of the population has. Um, Breaking any curses of alcoholism, whatever it may be. Oftentimes in my coaching, sometimes I'll get into deep conversations, and I say sometimes, but it's a lot of the time. But on this topic, I'll say, hey, if you're not going to break this generational curse, and let's say they have three kids, tell me the name and point to the kid that you're going to hand it to, and they're going to fix it.
mhm.
And it's a real gut punch because what I'm calling them to do is break the curse and not give it down to one of their kids, right? Because we all have had, whether you had great parents, terrible parents, or no parents, like we all kind of carry this stuff through our life. And it's like, at
Yes.
what point are you going to put down that backpack, that weight, that rucksack that you've been carrying your whole life? At what time are you going to put it down? And what day are you going to make the choice to not pass this on any further?
This really resonates with me because, like, as you said, like I've never heard my parents basically tell me that they love me or like they support me their own way and such. I like literally, it was pretty tough, and it literally affected the way that I've been, like, how I hold myself, like, when it comes to like mindset and such. I get through it like at this point a little bit, at least, like, to be more comfortable and such, because like how I'm just curious, like, when we are in this type of deep conversation, I would love to, like, do you know the way that actually affected that situation affected
Hmm.
you, like, in your personal life? Have you already figured it out?
Yeah, I figured it out pretty early. I was blessed. Actually, another podcast host drew this out of me because he was older than me. And he figured it out at age 48. And he's now 50. Um, but I figured it out at 14. And I don't know what the reason was as far as like it wasn't like this lightning bolt that struck me. But what I decided at 14, and it was actually about the same time that I accepted Jesus into my life. So obviously that I think that plays a part of it. But it was a recognition that I wasn't getting the affirmation that I needed from my father, and I decided that I have myself and I have God, and that's all I needed. And so now what I will say is, so I became very staunch in that approval came from me, but what I did was I overswung the pendulum. And so this is a great example of choosing. I think the top two decisions you can make in your life are one, to follow Jesus, and then secondly, who you choose to marry. is the second most important decision you'll make in your life. And what I mean by this, or just to give you an example, is so I'm married. I think we had our second kid. My wife's from Indiana. I'm in Wisconsin in the US. And we're making a trip. It's about a 6 hour drive down to Indiana to see her family. And she had complimented me on something. I don't know if it was the way I looked that day or something I did. And I was like, I know. And then it got quiet for a minute. And she goes, "You don't need any info or any affirmation, like at all, do you?" And I was like, "No." And then she got quiet. Knew something else was coming. And she goes, "But do you think I do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the kids do? Do you think your employees do?" And I was like, shit. Yeah. So it became a superpower for me individually. And then all of a sudden I got called out by her in a very good way, in a loving way, that I was inadvertently becoming my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really changed everything, is like recognizing that my superpower. So if you know the yin yang symbol, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
black
yeah.
with the
Uh-huh.
white dot. Yeah. How I've always taken that yin yang symbol is, okay, let's say the black area is your major strength zone and the white area is kind of your weakness zone. Well, in that black area is a white dot, and in the white area is the black dot. So how I've always taken that is like for every major strength, there's a corresponding weakness. And for every major weakness, there's a corresponding strength. And
Mm-hmm.
so my major strength of not needing affirmation from anyone created a weakness where I was treating everyone how I felt I needed to be treated. Like I got to the point where, Adam, if you said if we were together and we were in front of a crowd or in front of a room and you were trying to pay me a compliment, like I would viscerally get uncomfortable because I didn't need it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it was nice to hear those words from you if you were introducing me to a crowd or whatever it may be. But like, I actually got uncomfortable with getting a
Mm-hmm.
compliment because I grew the strength that I didn't need it. And so then you think about that as well as like, I'm taking away the gift that you're trying to give me by paying me a compliment because I didn't need it, but you're genuinely trying to pay me a compliment and I'm getting uncomfortable. That's kind of weird too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now, and I can't say that I'm great at it, but now I am at least recognizing the gift that's been being given to me by whoever's speaking well about me, whether it's my spouse or someone introducing me on a stage or whatever it may be, and being truly grateful for the words that are being spoken when previous Josh couldn't even handle that.
This is interesting. Wow. This is awesome. Like when it comes to basically the situation, like, yeah, well, I have we are together with my girlfriend for 9 years. And like she like I wouldn't say that I would be able to do anything without her that I actually like accomplish until this point. And I had really like this is really cool because I think like the way that you express it, and I finally understand what I have to do. Anyway, yeah, this is so cool. Well, thank you for that. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Really. Yeah. Wow. So basically, you also, I'm going to steer the conversation a little bit for now. When it comes to use the, you use the idea of being like a bridge builder, because like I've been checking your social media before we jump on, and there is like that you basically use the term bridge builder. What are the two worlds you feel like you are usually helping people cross between?
Yeah. So the bridge is a very good analogy, and that's why I adopted it. So sometimes when I say, or I'm introduced as a bridge builder, people go, "Oh, he's an engineer or he designs bridges or something of that nature." I'm like, no, not at all. I do build bridges, but they're interpersonal or very personal, not actual physical bridges. And so what the 30,000 foot view before I break it down is we're living a current life, a current version of our life, and we all have this unlived life at the other end of that bridge. It's the life that we want to live, whether it's,
Mm,
a financial gain, whether it's a spiritual gain, whether it's you want to change your body like you were referencing earlier, which by the way is one of the best bridges to start with because you're in shape. For 46 years old, I am at 6% body fat right now. Uh, like I'm in ridiculous shape for my age. Like you do not see many 40 something year olds in the shape that I'm in. But the reason I bring up the body is because if you have ever gone from fat to skinny or skinny to muscular or made any sort of change with your body and you physically put in the work, you put in the discipline to do it, and then you make that change and that one day, by the way, you're always the last to see it in the mirror. Like your friends that you haven't seen for months will be like, "Oh, you look good." And then your spouse or partner will go, "Hey, you really look good." And then you finally see it in the mirror and you're like, "It was my hard work, my discipline, my mental
Mm,
attitude that
yeah.
actually changed." When you actually have that cognition, you're like, "Oh man, I really changed my body. I wonder what else I could do like that." So it's like this, I think that's one of the best open doors for people. Like, I did that. No one else gave that to me. I put in the work, I put in the discipline, and I physically changed my body from X to Y. And you have this cognition, you go, okay, I wonder where else in my life I can do that. So that's
Mm.
why I think it's one of the best spots to start. Um, because,
Was
and
that
I've
was
also
that
been,
was that the thing that you started with? Like literally in your like, when before you start building a business, have you been always like really, into fitness, gym, like building muscles and such and being in shape?
yeah, so that's a great question, actually. So I never was fat, but I called myself
Hmm.
skinny fat. Because at one point through building the business, so I mentioned I played college football, so I was in really good
Yeah.
shape then. And then when you get done playing a high level football, a lot of football players will go through this, or actually a lot of high level athletes, like when you're being forced to work out and then you break free from that sport and you don't have it anymore, you kind of go through this phase of like, oh, I don't have to work out, so I guess I'm not going to. And so I did kind of a little roller coaster for a bit when I was really building the businesses up to all that work, that season of hard effort and, early mornings and late nights. I kind of let it go, but never so far that I couldn't bring myself back. So I refer to myself as skinny fat in my mid 30s. At age 36, I was at this conference with my good friend Ben Newman, who's an international speaker, author, motivational coach. Um, he's been a friend for 20 years, and he finally got me out there to Vegas to go to one of his things. And he got me because one of my childhood heroes, Jerry Rice, who's best wide receiver ever in the NFL, was speaking. And so I went out there and I got all these really fit people, former Navy SEALs, business execs that were in ridiculous shape. Jerry Rice was like 50 some years old at the time and still looked like he could play in the NFL. Um, just crazy. So, and that was like my peak of my career. I just bought the large firm and I'm 36 years old and I'm out at the poolside and I look at my body and I'm like, this isn't me. Like this is a shell of what I used to be. And I made the decision that day that I'm going to go change it. Like so when the moment I got back, I knew a former teammate of mine who's in ridiculous shape, was a trainer at a gym. I got my blood work done, figured out that my testosterone was low, started taking TRT, and then started really working hard on my body. And my biggest thing with that epiphany was I want to walk my three girls down the aisle someday. And now I know God's in control of my ultimate destiny, but I got to do everything in my power to remain healthy and be the example for them that I possibly can be. So now, like, especially as they get into their teenage years, I'm sitting there going like, I have to be the example because daughters marry versions of their fathers. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to be the example spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. So like whatever dude comes, like if some scrub dude comes into their life, like they're not even going to go near it. Like they're going to go for the ultimate bar of who I am. And so they make some proper choices with their life partner as well. So I have to be that example. So it was 10 years ago that I really made the conscious decision that I'm not going to be skinny fat anymore. I'm not just going to pour everything into my business and let my health go. And it's been a great journey since.
When you said that, well, what was it that you said that your daughters married? What did you say? How was
The
the saying? Did you say?
daughters marry versions of their fathers. And so if you're a fat, lazy dad,
Mm,
I mean, don't be surprised when your daughter marries a fat, lazy uh, human. Like,
yeah.
and but if you set the examples and the bar so high with how you treat them, how
Mm,
they should expect to be treated, uh, how you treat your body, how you treat your spouse, like my kids, they've never seen Jenna and I fight. And it was actually interesting. The oldest, who's going into high school next year, she was having a conversation with some of her friends, and she told us about it. And her friends were talking about how much their parents fight. And Ella was able to say, like, I don't think I've ever heard my parents fight. And that doesn't mean that we don't argue behind closed doors or disagree with each other, but we will never override each other in front of our kids, right? So they can't play the mom dad card, because if they come to me and say, hey, I want to have a sleepover, or I want to buy this thing, or I want to do this, I'm going to be like, what did your mom say? And she would ask the same question back, right? So, like, the example that we set for them, not only as a human, but also how you respect your partner. And I don't care if because a lot of families go through divorce, like, how are you handling that split?
Mhm.
Are you
Mhm.
setting the example? If you're still married, how are you handling and pursuing your wife and treating her like the princess that you want your daughters to be treated as?
Do you think that the system is basically affecting the way that parents showing up in their families, like in in the environment, that the system that we are like the way that we are taught is actually shaping them to like that most of the people, because like right now you can see that there is a huge amount of like divorces and such compared to the older generations. Do you believe that this whole thing is designed to do that to people, or like what are your thoughts on
How far do you want me to go down the rabbit hole?
that?
All right, I'll just go, Adam, and you can tell me
Just go.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
so 100%, yes, this system is set up to help us fail. I'll start with the financial side.
Mm.
So over 50% of divorces are because of financial issues in the household.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. So that, and I know that because of my financial planning career. We
Okay.
we track those because we were meeting with couples and helping them plot out their future. And oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
I was the first person that ever asked them, "Hey, if we were sitting here 3 years from today, what would you want to have accomplished personally, professionally, financially? If we were sitting here 10 years from today, what would you want to have accomplished?" Same question, and then 20 years plus. I was the first person that ever asked them that question and allowed them to have a conversation about their future.
Mm-hmm.
They never thought about it. So the school system here in the US, only 7 states out of 50 mandate a personal finance course in high school. So virtually none of our public education is being taught how to handle money. That's 100% on
Yeah.
purpose. And then you have 50% of divorces happening, or 50+% of divorces happening because of money. And then on the opposite side of that, um, the women's suffrage movement and getting more women into the workforce and so on and so forth. I think that part of that intent was good, but I also think it was nefarious as well. Getting more women into the workforce broke up who was caring for the person in the home typically,
Mm-hmm.
and then also it gave the government another taxpayer, so there was more revenue to tax. So I think there was nefarious reasons behind that too. Now, over time, the who's taking or who's the primary caregiver in the home has shifted a little bit. So some men are doing it more than women, and some, you know, I'm not against that. And women doing, like, my wife wanted to get her law degree, SAT or LSATs, and we actually had conversation about what's more, because I was very successful at that point. I'm a few years older than her, and we had a conversation about, were you really passionate about the law, or were you going down that path because you knew you could make good money doing that? And in her heart of hearts, she was doing it more because of the money thing than really that she was passionate about law. And so she did not go to law school and pursue that. Um, I helped her start a business, and that was our first exit. It was a fitness franchise, and and then she became primary caregiver in the home after that. And so I think there's conversations that you need to have in individual households and how that's going to break out. But I think the system is set up against us in so many different ways. And then you think about, okay, just a traditional path that they tell us in the American dream: go to college, get your degree. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, they don't tell you you're probably going to go into $200,000 of debt to do so, but go get your degree and then get your corporate job and then get your house with the white picket fence, have a couple kids. But that's not happening. Like, the studies are showing that um, women and men, our average age of getting married is now crossed over into the 30s, where if you go
Mm-hmm.
back just 2 decades, it was in the early 20s or mid 20s,
Yep.
right? So it's delaying family. more people aren't having kids, and then what's happening in the US is are like Europe's decades ahead on this, but the birth rate is way down. So these social service programs are going to be completely bankrupt because what the US Social Security program was set up for, the first generation that received it actually didn't pay into it. And so, therefore, it's been a Ponzi scheme over and through the generations. No one will call it that, but I do, because you're essentially taking the current working generation to pay for the previous working generation. And so, normal families here in the US are getting squeezed on both ends where they're having to pay for their parents, perhaps their elder care, or they're having to move in. They're trying to pay down their own college debt, trying to save for retirement, and pay for their future kids' college. Like I mean, and that's what's stressing people out money. That's why more men and women are having to both be in the workforce versus just one of them. So the system right now is broken, at least here in the US. I'm sure some places in
It's
Europe
same
as
in
well.
here. Yeah, totally. The only thing, like, what is good in, for example, in Czech right now, like, or in the Slovakian countries, or I think most of the Europe even, I'm not 100% sure, but we don't really have student loans yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because some of the
there's,
European countries subsidize for college, right?
yeah, yeah. So we're literally going to college. Like, people can have the option to go to college, but it's most of the time is literally
Yeah.
publicly available. You don't really pay because like you can study until 26, and like the state take care of you basically, because you're basically a kid until 26. Like, that's what they say. And you can study, and then if you're over 26, then you can still study, but you have to pay already, like literally you have to, because like we have this type of, I don't know if you heard of it, but we have this type of it's like insurance type, like social insurance and health insurance type of thing, like, where it is like, but it's not like that you have to, it's, I don't know if in the US you have to pay it like every month, even though you
Yeah.
are not in employed, or you are employed, or having a business or not having a business, you have to pay it anyway, like literally, right? For example, because in UK, because I've been living for 7 years in UK, they don't even have that. So if you do not work, you just don't pay anything. You're just sitting at home and do not freaking anything. You don't even have to pay for insurance, nothing, like literally none, right? So I don't know like how that actually works in US.
Yeah.
I'm actually
We
curious.
we we most of us pay private insurance
Private,
for
okay,
the entire family on a monthly basis. Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. So and I'm that was a little bit like of the topic, but like I wanted to go a little bit back to like prior you succeeding with like with the businesses and writing a book and being best-selling author. I'm just like really curious when it comes to like, because you said also like school like wasn't a thing for you, like literally like you left the school like when as soon as you possibly could. It's like when we've been talking, and like what did you want it to become as a
Mm.
person at that time? Like, what was the yeah, what was the goal for you? Like, like what type of person you wanted to be?
Yeah, early on, I just wanted to be successful. And I didn't even necessarily have a definition of that other than the money side of things. Uh, and so that's where it's evolved into legacy and continuing to have an impact. And that's where I do with my coaching clients on the business side of things. I just work with entrepreneurs that are trying to build something because I believe entrepreneurs are the fabric of the American culture, and that may
Mm.
be across seas as well. But like we're the ones that sponsor Little League sports. We're the ones building jobs in the community, and so I think without
Like pretty
entrepreneurs,
much
like
anything, right? If you look at
yeah,
around yourself, basically everything is made by entrepreneurs, right? Like
yep,
literally, right?
that's
So
right.
so like, and it's really sad to see like people not really looking at it from that perspective, and not being even creative, and trying to be like trying to just live by the rules that somebody else made up, and they don't just like, even because like I believe that we are all creators, right? We've been if we've been basically a created in the image of God, he was the creator, right? So we
Hmm.
are creators too in his image, and like the way that we like when it comes to your when it comes to you, have you been always like this type of creator, like when it comes to like very curious type of person trying to figure out certain things all the time and like trying to build it even though it didn't work, for example, and such? Or was it the thing that you have to like literally learn it because of the conditioning that you had, like you've been basically fit into since your young age?
Uh, I think to answer that best, I've never been one that's just taken whatever societal pressure to heart too much. Like I always want to be the one. This is old school, but in high school, the movie The Titanic came out, and everyone went to see it. And I'm like, well, if everyone's doing it, I'm not going to. Like that's been my personality is like what everyone else is doing, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to
You're
do the opposite of that.
like, yeah, the
Yeah.
opposite. Okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
so I've just never like I didn't I've learned my political stuff. I've learned a lot of how to do things, and I'm also not scared to fail. Like I've tried so many different things. Even the game of lacrosse, like after I got done playing football in college, I got asked to come play lacrosse. I had never picked up a stick in my life. But my athleticism and my size at that time enabled me to be a pretty dang good lacrosse player uh, out of the gates. And so but I wasn't scared to fail either or look like a dumbass. I was just going to go do it. And by doing that, then you start practicing, you start getting actually pretty good. So those are the things I've carried with me is like, I don't care what anyone else, that goes back to my superpower of not caring what others think and needing approval from society or the world or anyone else.
Mm.
Like if I fail, that's cool, but I'm going to continue to get better. So like I've lived kind of by a motto is like, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And through
How did
those
you?
failures, you
Okay.
learn a lot.
How did you learn to do not care about people? What they think about you? That's what I mean.
But that was through my dad's condition, me deciding, at a younger age that I wasn't going to need anyone's approval. So if I
Mm.
didn't need his approval, I certainly don't need some random random person on the internet's approval. Like if I make a
Mhm.
post and it happens to be controversial and some keyboard warrior chimes in, I don't give a shit. And then they're surprised when I clap back at them and they don't have anything to say. And they're like, oh, I thought I could just get away with being a keyboard warrior and putting some dumb comment up here. And he wasn't going to say anything. No, I'm going to say something. So it's kind of funny. Like I laugh. Like sometimes I'll post something controversial just for shits and giggles. Like it entertains me.
Yeah.
Because people are so irrational in their thought. Like I recorded a podcast of Two Truths. It was on Memorial Day. And it was right after Memorial Day, I should say, here in the US. And that's a day where we're honoring our veterans who lost their lives.
Mhm.
And I saw so many posts like people like not wanting to celebrate. The far left in our country has gotten pretty crazy and irrational in their thinking. And they're like not celebrating Memorial Day. Like I was like, two things can be true. Like I'm not a fan of war, and I'm going to honor the shit out of every veteran that was brave enough to risk their life for our freedom. Like those two truths can be held at the same time, but so few people like have the capacity or even willpower to just go, "Oh, I can see that side and I can see that side," and go, "Yeah, I get it." But so few people they feel like they have to pick the most extreme view and like fall into this like this tunnel thinking. And it's crazy to me that so few people lack the capacity to hold two truths at the same time. So I got off on a tangent there, but it's a worthy one because um, like Adam and I may have different opinions on something, and I'm not going to get offended by it if he disagrees with me. Like we can walk out friends and have different opinions.
Totally. People like it's really interesting. Why do you think this is happening? Like, is this a part of the conditioning? Would you say, or what is going on?
Oh, all of our governments are huge propagandists. Like, and this has been going on for newspapers before the internet when it was just TV. Like they've been fed a narrative, and this is what you have to talk about. And people used to trust the newspapers, used to trust TV. And now, like, we're like there, especially here in America, like there's a fracture. Like, we don't trust anyone that has a platform anymore, at least the
Hmm.
logical ones. Then you
Sure.
have the far left. The far left in America, like they just fall in line with whatever the groupthink is. They just fall that, like, whatever the groupthink is, we're taking that narrative.
Hmm.
And then you have this huge swath in the middle here in America where we're like, anyone that's on TV, anyone that's writing an article has a slant or is propagandizing us to get us to believe a certain thing. So we're questioning everything. And we should, like you and I, before we got on air, we're talking about history and how we largely believe a lot of history is bullshit. But like, I think it's definitely part of conditioning. And then I also think the personal responsibility is there. Like, it's laziness. It is sheer laziness not to explore another opinion, not to explore the other side of that whatever the groupthink is. What might someone that opposite of me thinks, and and instead of just going, oh, they're a racist, they're a bigot, or calling them a name, going, huh, being curious enough to go, I wonder why they think that, and I think this, like, and just having a conversation about it because we're far more alike than we are apart. But here's the other thing that people have fallen into. We've acquiesced our human sovereign rights, essentially. We're like, we're going to vote for this person and they're going to come in and save and fix everything. Well, I would like to tell anyone in the UK, anyone in the US, you're not voting your way out of any problems because politics is downstream from culture.
Hmm.
You got to fix the culture before you can fix politics. There is no one coming to save you. There is no
Hmm.
one that can transform your body. Only you can do that. There is no one that can fix
Yeah.
your pocketbook. Only you can do that. There is no one that can fix your mental condition. Only you can do that. And so, why we keep giving our human right away to others, expecting them to fix it, is mind-boggling to me. Like, all we
Are
need to
you
know
oh
is like,
you are you talking about those like that people don't basically do not take any type of responsibility for their life and then just blame others and like
yeah,
every hopefully they're gonna fix it for me and like talking about bullshit and like literally nonsense that you have no power over it, like basically they're looking for the external type of things.
yeah. Well, there's
Okay.
that side, and I would say majority of the time that falls on like the political left. Everyone's a
Okay.
victim, victimhood mentality. My story's worse than yours. But then on the right side of politics, like everyone here in the US that voted for Trump thought Trump was going to fix everything. Like,
Yeah.
and even if so even if he did fix it, quote unquote, everything, it's still not going to fix your life. Like, you have control. He's not going to make you skinny if you're fat. He's not going to fix your pocketbook. He may put more in it if he actually follows through on getting rid of majority of taxes, but we haven't even seen that yet. But like, that may help your pocketbook, but if you're still working the same job with the same income, you're not, or you still have the same broke money habits that you are spending all everything that comes in anyhow. That's not fixing anything. Like, only you can fix it. Like, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. Like, you want to be so mentally strong, so physically strong, so financially strong that it doesn't matter what the government does.
Hmm.
And when they can't control you, that's what they're actually afraid of. And so we need a culture of people that cannot be controlled by politicians. And that will fix our political systems.
Why do you think that people are like hoping for somebody to save them? Like literally, it seems to me like it's like 90% of population literally living this way day to day, like
Yeah.
which is freaking crazy to me, right? Like it's so insane. Like
Well, you think about the billions or maybe even trillions of dollars of propaganda that's been forced fed to us on we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be doing that. I remember the food pyramid that was taught to me in the 1980s, and it was exactly backwards of how we should be eating. But it was propagandized to us through the school system that this is how we should eat. And it was exactly backwards of how we should eat. And this didn't happen in Europe because anytime I visited Europe, like, my body feels better than ever. There's no preservatives in the bread. You're getting, farm to table food in most cases, or seed to food or seed to table. Um, like, I don't think Europe has that problem as much as America, but like, they brainwash us into just eating the easiest, laziest, most processed foods possible. And so it's been billions and trillions of dollars propagandizing us to think that, oh, if we vote for this person, they're going to come save us. If we get the right boss, they're going to save us. If we like, it's crazy. So but that's where more people need to wake up and go, no one's coming to save me. I got to do
Mm.
this myself.
Doesn't it because of people like not having actually money to be able to afford like normal type of food, like literally like better type of food? I don't know how was the prices between those type of things. Have you been thinking about it, or have you did
Yeah,
some
there is a difference. Yeah, processed foods are cheaper. They are.
right?
Or if you go to McDonald's, you can get stuff off the dollar menu.
Uh,
And it's easy.
that's not even in that's not in here. Like literally in these countries, there is nothing like it doesn't exist that like dollar type of like McDonald menu or something like that. Not it doesn't exist in here.
Yeah, I know. I've been to Europe a couple times, and it's great because I can go to an Italian restaurant and eat for just as cheap as I could here in the US, but it's much better food.
Mm,
So it is cheaper to get processed foods, but then you got to look at the long-term consequences of your
yeah.
body. Like literally, our grocery stores are designed in such an it's a sensical way for maximum profit, but it's a nonsensical way for the human body. The outsides of our grocery stores are the fresh produce, the fresh meats, whatever it may be. The whole big part of the interior is all processed stuff. And so it's literally designed from this psychologists and all everything. Like you just kind of stay in the middle and you buy processed foods. Well, those of us that have woken up is like we go to the exteriors and get the proper food that you need.
That's
And then there's
crazy.
the other laziness piece of it is no one wants to prep their food with fresh ingredients. They'd
Yeah.
rather just get it from a can or get it from a box
Mm,
because it's easy and quick, and that's just lazy. Whereas those of us that have gotten into the fitness space will do meal prepping, right? So maybe on a Sunday we spend a few hours getting all of our meals prepped for the week with fresh beef or chicken, fresh vegetables, good grains, whatever it may be, and have our lunches or our meals prepped for the week. For the majority of America, though, they're getting processed foods or eating on the fly through fast food or whatever it may be. Because that's what I notice about Italy too, is like they'll take a long lunch and go eat good food.
oh yeah, they do. Hmm.
In America, they're like, oh, I got like 10 minutes before my next meeting. So I'm gonna run to McDonald's really quick, go through the drive-through, and then be back on Zoom.
Would you say that the food like for when it comes to like for fitness, like when you are like literally taking care of uh your health, literally like is the food have you found the food better than like going to like those type of shops and such? Do you have like separate type of shops, or is it like a mixed up like with all together, or are you like looking for specifically when you're going for example like when you have your you know uh meal plan, are you looking for like specific foods to buy and then yeah.
Yeah, so most of it is mixed up. What I will say is that's another reason to make money is so that you can learn the places that and pay a little bit more for the grass-fed beef. You know where the food's coming from. Like that's the thing with Italy, right? Like they like that that fish was freshly caught.
Yeah.
In America, you go to a restaurant, that fish may have traveled across the country
Yeah.
before it got to your table, right? So that's why the blue zone of the Mediterranean, like, are some of the healthiest, longest living people,
Yeah.
and that's just not the case in the U.S. So that's another reason to be insanely successful is now I know, okay, I go to a farm here in Wisconsin, and we get a cow. The cow gets butchered, and now I have a whole year's worth of beef in my freezer, but I
Yeah.
know exactly where that came from, and I know what I'm putting into my body, and I know it's going to be healthier than when I get it from a store.
How much do you believe that having a balance around all the area of your life when it comes to like well health relationship and all of that has the ultimate power over how much successful you are in your life, if that makes sense?
Oh, I think it's everything. The only thing I'd change is I don't like the word balance, because balance indicates 50-50, and there's no magical day that you wake up and your life's 50-50 between work and life. And so I like the words integration or harmony better. But it is
Okay.
it's of utmost importance because what I see is entrepreneurs are highly driven people pouring everything into their work. And then all of a sudden they wake up one day and their spouse doesn't want to be married to them anymore, or their kids don't
Mm,
want to be around them, or they lost their way with God, or they've gotten obese, or they've picked up an addiction, or whatever it may be. So I built out the 5 bridges, and this is what I put in the Kairos Code, my book, because I figured it out, and now I've got a formula to help people do it. So bridge number one is spiritual. You don't have to believe in Jesus like I believe, but you got to know what your spiritual grounding is, because when everything falls apart, that's all you have left. So understanding that, growing deep into whatever your spiritual beliefs are, that's of utmost importance, because when everything falls apart, it's all you got. And so bridge number two then is your internal. So every time, at least here in the States, we get onto an airplane, they say, in case of emergency, oxygen mask will drop. Please put yours on first before assisting others. And the reason they say this instruction is because if you're passed out or dead, you can't help anyone. So it's the same thing in your life. So the internal bridge is your physical, your emotional, and your mental health. And so you have to be right yourself before you can help others. You have to lead by example yourself before you can be a leader to others. And so that's why the internal bridge is number two. The third bridge is relationships, um, because they're the fruit of life. Like, what are we doing this for without relationships? As human beings, we're communal. We're wired that way, to be in community with others, to have relationships with others. And that's where so much joy in our life comes from. But
mm,
oftentimes we sacrifice the relationships that are most important to us to go all in on work,
mhm,
to provide and protect. And that is noble, but it's not the most important piece. And so bridge four is your environment. And this is the bridge everyone skips to. It's your professional, it's your financial, and it's because it's what we're supposed to do, right? So we skip to this. Or if you're a driven person, like it's not because it's what you're supposed to do, it's because what you want to do. But we got to remember those other 3 bridges come first. And then if we do the first 4 bridges right, we get to the fifth bridge, which is legacy. And this is the impact that you leave in the world. So what most people get wrong about legacy is they think it's about things, and it's not. No one has ever gone to a funeral and like, here's all the things they get to take with them. Like, no, the body's present, the spirit's gone. They're not taking anything with them, right? So it's not about things, it's about what you leave in others. And then the other area they get it wrong is they think it's 30 years from today.
mm,
My legacy, it's out there in the future somewhere. It's not, because again, as we started this conversation, we don't know how many days we have left. So you need to wake up with a cognition that every single day is not only a blessing, it's a chance for you to leave a piece of yourself in others. So it's far more about what you leave in others than what you leave behind.
love it. This is so cool. Well, thank you so much, brother. That was an amazing conversation. Here's the last question that that I'm going to ask and wrap it up this conversation. Then I have three short rapid fires. So the last question is, looking at your Kairos basically coaching program and such, like when it comes to what is the future vision that you basically going towards when it comes to your business and also like your personal life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Personal life is easy. It's just to continue to evolve the current version of me, see how deep those gifts from God go, and continue to pursue those and put them back into the world in the service of others.
Okay,
They're not,
hold on in here, hold on in here. I'm just curious. I have follow-up question on this because like we've been talking and I haven't really had an opportunity to ask you when it comes to like religious and like how much you believe in Jesus, and it was like all the way around like from since the beginning and I'm just really curious because like it wouldn't I don't know. I couldn't let you go just without asking this question. So, like, when it comes to like Jesus, was like you said that you found him when he was like kind of young. Like you said
mm,
around 20. It was around
14.
20
It's around 14.
or 14. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, how Jesus actually changed your life? Because what I can see, so many successful people, like extremely successful people, like I don't know if, how to express it well enough, but it seems like that they're super aligned with God and with some type of like higher power they believe in. So I'm just like so curious about you when it comes to like Jesus and such, how it changed your life and like how you see Jesus affecting your life and your decisions and your business, if that makes sense.
Yep. So I think there's two ways to go about life. There's one way where we could believe that everything happens by coincidence or
Mm,
everything happens by design. And the more things that have added up in my life, whether it was how I met my spouse, how I grew in business, and the lessons those things taught me for the next iteration of my business or the next business, um, how this 80-acre property that I have came together. Uh, I just, there were no coincidences. Like everything was by design. Like there's too much of God showing up in those instances where I just couldn't deny it any further. Now, I've done my
what do
own
you mean? What
research.
do you mean by that? What do you mean by showing up? God showing up in it?
Well, so when I went to look for, I'll just use the example of this property. After I sold my last business, it was a big exit, and I went to look for 80 to 100 acres of land. And at first, we're looking at properties that have, just blank land, trees and fields. And I would have to build everything and go from there. And then my friend, I only shared my vision with someone because I wanted to find this land, not for myself, but it was during COVID pandemic and everyone was isolated. And I wanted to get a piece of property where we could come back together, work on
Mm,
ourselves so that we could go back to the world as better humans. So that was the vision. I only shared it with my wife and maybe two others. And my friend shows me this video and goes, "Have you seen this property?" I'm like, "No, my realtor hasn't brought it to me either." And he goes, "Well, it's not listed on the normal sites." And so I sent it to my realtor and I said, "Hey, go get us a showing." And when I show up here, right, so I shared this vision with very few people. I showed up here and the realtor says, "Hey, we need you to sign this non-disclosure agreement." I'm like, "I'm just viewing a property. Why would I need to sign that?" "Oh, the owner's just really private." I'm all right. Well, if I'm going to sign it, can you at least tell me who the owner is? And he tells me, and it was the person that bought my wife and I's first house. We haven't seen him in, I don't know, 10 years. Hadn't talked to him in 10 years. Had no idea that he owned this property. So like there's just instances like that where you could go, yeah, that's total coincidence. And you could
Wow.
chalk it up that way. Or you could
Yeah.
go, no, something bigger was at play here. And
Mm,
then you take that further, and I was still in negotiations for my exit, so I didn't have the money yet. And I was transparent with him. And he goes, I love your vision for this property. How about we do a land contract? I know the money's coming. I know you, I trust you. And so he put his property and his money on the line for me to own this property. And then as soon as the money did came, I was able to buy him out. But like, what type of person does that? Like, we weren't friends. I
yeah.
wasn't related to him. Like, but he believed in me and my vision and decided to build that bridge for us to
Mm,
own the property. And so that's just one example of many. But like the other piece of it is, I think a lot of people view God, up in heaven, Jesus with him by his side, and I think they fail to see that the Holy Spirit, which is what the third part of the Trinity was put inside of us for us believers, like that's God. All right. So God's actually walking with us every single day, whether we recognize it or not. And I
mm,
think the times that we recognize it the most are when we're in our pits of despair, when we've, you know, had the hardest thing that's ever happened to us happen to us. When that happened for me, God wasn't above me trying to pull me out of this pit. No, he was walking right next to me. Jesus was walking right next to me the whole time, saying, "I got you. We're going to get through this. It's all happening for a reason." And so that's I think that's when people find God the most, when they're going through the hardest piece. But man, he's with you every day. All you got to do is seek his love, and it's a love like you've never known.
mm. That's so beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So
So
back to
future
the
vision, yeah, the original
yeah.
question on. So I answered the personal, the business side.
You did.
So business side, I recognized a couple things as I got into this coaching world. One is that entrepreneurs are burning the candle at both ends and they're not living that aligned life. And so that's a big drive for me, is to get them through my program of the five bridges and have some really deep conversations to actually, and I do this in group work because I find that it works best versus individually. Um, and really help them figure out, okay, what's the unlived life? How do we get from this side of the bridge to this side of the bridge? Because everyone's is different, and everyone's struggling with something. So that's one version of it, is to continue to bring entrepreneurs, high achievers through that program. But the second,
Do you have some specific entrepreneurs that you are like literally looking for, or is it like like at some level, like for example, did they have some type of success, or is it like literally that they can join any type of entrepreneurs, like beginners even and such?
yeah, so the first program, the Cornerstone program, is for successful entrepreneurs. They've had some level of success. They're actually have figured the business side out. It's figuring the rest of the life side out. That's the Cornerstone program. But what we are building is smaller masterminds for younger entrepreneurs to be a part of, so they can get ahead of the curve, and that'll be a lesser cost. We just haven't rolled that out yet. But the future iteration of that Cornerstone program is really to the other problem that I noticed, at least here in the U.S., is there's a lot of influencers on the internet that have never
Mm,
really owned a business but are selling coaching courses, and they've gotten big names for themselves. And so
yeah,
what they've gotten good at is creating a great marketing funnel, but they've
yeah.
never really been through the fires that most of us have been through. So I want to eliminate them. Not that they're bad people so much, um, but what it is like, well, I'm probably being a little nice. I don't like them at all because they haven't been through what we've been through. Um, but what I want is business mentors mentoring the younger entrepreneurs, people that have had success, had been through trials by fire. And so my whole thing was is the people that come through my program is giving them an opportunity, if they've been a successful entrepreneur, to mentor other entrepreneurs that are on the come up. So that's why we're waiting to roll out that younger one, is we got to get some more entrepreneurs that want to pour back into the younger business owners as we move forward here.
Love it. Well, where people can find you? Like, is there do you run some type of webinar or something that people can get in touch with you or join the coaching program and such?
Yeah, so joshkosnick.com is the easiest way. All my socials are at Josh Kosnick. I put out a ton of free content. My podcast, Spartan Leadership. Um, I put out a lot of free content because I want to give back and just give continued feedback to those that are coming up from behind us. A mentor of mine says that we're best equipped to help the previous version of ourselves. And so the previous version of myself is that young entrepreneur that didn't know anything but just figured it out. And so I want to continue to pour back into those entrepreneurs that are coming up behind me, and help them live a more integrated life. So um, yeah, and so the programming, the cornerstone program is called the LQ Blueprint. Life quotient is what LQ stands for, because we're working on our EQ, our emotional intelligence, our IQ, becoming more brain intelligent at all times. What I figured out is that most people aren't figuring out how to live that integrated life, and that's what the LQ blueprint does.
Well, thank you again. That was a amazing time with you here. And I have three rapid fire that I ask every person on a show. So the first one is that's gonna be designed a little bit for the specific situation that you are providing in here and the experiences that you have. What is the number one book that you would recommend somebody who is like trying to figure out the type of like mindset stuff when it comes to like from everything what studied, went through your expertise to see, like what is the filtered book that you've went through all and is like brought the most impact on you?
Well, the Bible is the easy answer, but specifically in the Bible, Proverbs, I think, is the best leadership book I've ever read. And I'll give you two more because they're, for those that may not want to dig into the Bible and not know where to start. If you're a leader, I'd start with Proverbs. But two secular books that I would recommend would be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And then
Mm,
the second one would be Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And
mm,
if I'll give one more that probably doesn't get talked about enough. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 was a game changer for how I led people, how I understood my own emotions, my
mm.
own how I operate socially, and how others operate. I think that book is a cornerstone for growth, because as what a lot of people probably haven't heard, but should know is that EQ is far more beneficial to your uprise and your career trajectory, your success, than IQ. So you can be the smartest person on the planet, but if you don't have emotional intelligence, you can only take that so far. Someone with really high emotional intelligence can take whatever they're doing to the moon.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't thought about it that way actually. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna look at it. This is something interesting. Okay. So the second question would be if you had the power to delete an advice from the internet that doesn't serve people at all, what would you delete?
That's a good one. Could we eliminate all politicians? All right, advice from the internet. Let's say, here,
Let's go.
uh, here's advice from the internet that has bugged me over the past few years, that everyone should be an entrepreneur, and it's easy, or the only path. Uh, know the right people that are equipped to handle the risk, the stress, everything that comes with being an entrepreneur should be an entrepreneur. Everyone else, you should be an amazing intrapreneur, meaning you should
Mm.
act like an entrepreneur inside of someone else's business and
Ooh, oh yeah, that I love
do
that.
do your job exceptionally well, and you won't ever be replaced. But the internet is glamorizing entrepreneurship like everyone should do it, and for most people, their risk tolerance isn't strong enough for it. Now,
Mm,
that shouldn't eliminate you being creative and doing whatever you want to do as an entrepreneur and finding that job that you love to do and you're great at doing. Like I have two people on my team that I don't have to babysit.
mm,
Like I know their job gets done. One of them this week, I'm in my podcast studio, but kind of against the bad wall of it because I don't know how to set up the lights and stuff. Like Alec has two young kids. One of his kids was sick this week. He's working from home. I'm not babysitting him. Like I know he's doing his work. My other employee just had her first baby, and she's had a couple months off, but she's still even emailing and stuff while she's been at home nursing her brand new baby. Like it's finding entrepreneurs like that are so bought into you as the leader and your vision, and that you just trust them to do again, they're both smarter than me in their areas of expertise,
mm.
and I trust them to do their work regardless of where they're at.
I love it. Yeah, this is so. I love the like when you said that literally what I believe is like literally if people would take like if somebody would teach people how to be like the what is that like the not ideas the basically the way that entrepreneurs operate the way that we actually like what do we do like entrepreneurs like what do we do how we think how we like do certain things inside of like and then like literally go and find because like exactly not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur right like literally they if the behavior of entrepreneur is going to so much more serve you inside of somebody else's business and looking at like like show because the business like is led by entrepreneur right so if
Yep.
you're going to have the you know the behavior as a entrepreneur you will be completely seen as a different person like when I moved to England and I've been literally working for other small business owners because I just didn't know better. And I had to start somehow. I didn't have any money. I couldn't speak even English. But my conversation with the owner was all the time about like, how is the business going? Like, do you need some help with that? Like, do you need some help with that? Like, literally, I was all the time seeking for some different things that I could help him increase, for example, with his social media or with something that literally like would lead him to bring more like let the company bring more people or more revenue into his business or streamline but that's how I was wired like literally I when I get into entrepreneurship I was obsessed with entrepreneurship like literally I studied everything what I could found and still not everything and like but that's I believe this so much like what you said what you just said so anyway so the last question is if this would be your last interview you've ever done what would be the message that you would love to leave behind
I think we talked about several. Follow Jesus. personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. No one's coming to save you. uh, and really squeeze every drop of juice out of this thing called life. Maximize it. Like, leave it all on the table. When you show up to the pearly gates, no regrets. Like, just leave it out there and leave your heart out there. Like, don't be afraid of, whether it's a relationship, getting your heart broken, or failing in a business, or whatever it may be. That's part of life. And we all go through trials and tribulations, but it's all about the effort that you put out there and the good that you put into the world through that effort. So I think those would be my last few messages.
Well, thank you so much again. And for everybody who's listening, this was Josh, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.